I'm the only one in the whole school who can't hear the inner thoughts of the Beijing socialite princess. At the top student awards ceremony, I had just received the honor certificate from the principal. The young princess sighed and shook her head. Should I expose her cheating? The principal even wants to send her to the provincial competition. If she ends up in last place, our school's ranking will hit rock bottom. The principal immediately invalidated my exam results, costing me the provincial competition qualification and making me an outcast among my classmates. So when the class fund went missing, I was the first suspect. Just as the class was hesitating, the teacher's pet was internally wrestling with herself. It was obviously Jenna. Her family's poor, so stealing makes sense. Maybe I should just cover the missing class fund myself. The class monitor overheard my thoughts and snatched the 2,000 yuan from my backpack, the money I was going to use for my mom's surgery. I cried and pleaded my innocence, but no one believed me. With the surgery money gone, I had no choice but to skip classes and find work. Then I got followed by some troublemakers. Just as I was about to call out to my classmates for help, the little princess started complaining in her head again. She's clearly dating a troublemaker, yet she treats us as part of her twisted game. How shameless. The classmate who was about to rescue me turned around and walked away without a second glance, and during my frantic escape, I lost my footing and fell into the river. When I opened my eyes again, I had traveled back to the moment I ranked first in the grade. This time, I clearly heard the little princess's innermost thoughts. In today's flag-raising ceremony address, we particularly commend Jenna from Class 1, Grade 11 for achieving the highest score in this month's exams, outperforming the second-ranked student by 30 points. Thunderous applause echoed, mingled with heartfelt excitement. I stepped onto the awards platform, but then came a discordant voice. I'm so jealous of Jenna. She can just copy her way to the top. I should have reported her right there in the exam hall. Should I expose her cheating? The principal even wants to send her to the provincial competition. If she ends up in last place, our school's ranking will hit rock bottom. Forget it. I heard she's from a poor family. What if people accuse me of looking down on the less fortunate? I feel so guilty toward the principal. We'd be humiliated across the entire province. The applause died down abruptly as the words were spoken. Every teacher and student in the school, including the principal on stage, was staring at me with skeptical scrutiny. I could clearly pinpoint where the voice was coming from. It was Vivian, who had transferred from the elite Capital Academy to our public high school. She's known as the princess of Beijing's elite circle, with a father who's the nation's wealthiest man and a mother who's a renowned ballet dancer. Strangely enough, I didn't see their lips move. Where was this voice coming from? Just as I was puzzling over this, Vivian's voice sounded again. I heard some officials are visiting the school today. If they pick Jenna for the competition, it won't just embarrass the principal, the education bureau will lose face too. Why did everyone stop clapping? I was only complaining in my head. It's not like I said it out loud. So that was Vivian's inner monologue. The principal's face shifted through several shades before settling on livid. Then he started marching toward me. She snatched the certificate right out of my hands. I hereby declare that Jenna has been caught cheating on the exam with smuggled notes. Her results are invalidated. In my past life, I couldn't hear Vivian's inner thoughts. I had no idea what was going on, but my mind worked quickly, and I immediately asked the principal to check the surveillance footage. With a clear conscience, I had nothing to fear from the investigation since I hadn't cheated, but unexpectedly, the exam surveillance video was missing. It was my homeroom teacher who staked her entire teaching career to secure me a chance to retake the exam. But on the day of the retake, I accidentally ate some spoiled fruit and had to keep running to the bathroom throughout the entire exam. I ended up completely drained from diarrhea, and my score was an absolute disaster. The principal became even more convinced that I had cheated to get first place. He directly gave the spot for the provincial competition to Vivian, even with a second chance at life. I still can't come up with a solid escape plan, even if we call the police. When they arrive, there'll still be no surveillance footage. What can I even say? Whatever, I can't be bothered to struggle anymore. In front of everyone, I grabbed the microphone. The principal is right. I cheated to get first place. The students on the sports field erupted in uproar. Holy shit, they actually cheated. How dare she say that? Just because she's from a poor family. Does she think the school won't expel her? How shameless. If I were Jenna, I would have dropped out long ago. Even Vivian looked shocked. It seems they didn't expect me to admit it so directly. As everyone was buzzing with discussion, I spoke up again. That's right. I cheated my way to being top of the class all 6 years of elementary school, cheated through 3 years of middle school too, and kept right on cheating in high school, straight as for 2 years running. So, classmates, ask yourselves, why is it that you can't beat a cheater like me? Even with all your hard work, can't even out-cheat me? A deathly silence fell over the 3,000 people on campus. They'd seen arrogance before, but never someone so brazenly confrontational. When the shock wore off, the playground erupted in chaos. How can she plagiarize and still have no shame? Wait, cheating once could be a fluke, but doing it for 7 or 8 years straight, were the proctors blind or what? The thing is, Jenna's grades have always been consistently solid. It doesn't add up that she'd be cheating. The principal was completely dumbfounded. He was new to the role and didn't know the students well enough. I only rushed to declare it cheating because I heard Vivian's confession and didn't want to embarrass the school. With zero self-preservation instinct, I spoke bluntly to the principal. The fact that a cheater like me could copy under your nose for 2 years straight shows the invigilators are utterly negligent. Here's my proposal. Expel me, then fire those blind invigilators. Let's see who'd dare cheat after that. The principal remained silent, but the proctors were getting restless. Jenna couldn't have cheated. All the students around her had lower scores. Why would she copy from them? Exactly. And how could anyone cheat their way to a 30-point lead over the second place? Principal, I believe there must be some misunderstanding here. The principal's face turned pale, then flushed with anger. He regretted having trusted the students' opinions so readily. He quickly tried to backtrack. Let's discuss this matter after I review the surveillance footage. Just as I was about to get off the hook, Vivian's inner voice echoed again. Ugh, the principal is so clueless. Jenna already destroyed the surveillance footage. There's no way he'll find anything. And who says cheating has to mean copying from someone else's paper? If you're well connected, you can just buy the exam content early on the forums, post it online for answers, forget 680, even a perfect 750 is a piece of cake. The principal fixed his suspicious gaze on me once more, yet he dared not jump to conclusions, instead making a decision that sent panic through the entire student body. I hereby order all students to remain standing on the field. We are confiscating every single phone. Let's see who dares to bring a phone to school and purchase exam papers in advance. Anyone caught will be expelled immediately. Vivian instantly turned pale. The students cried out in alarm. I believe Jenna didn't cheat. Don't search our phones. We didn't bring anything. Exactly. We never suspected any cheating among us. Why should we face the consequences? As they spoke, the entire school glared at Vivian with resentment. If it weren't for her, the principal wouldn't have searched our phones. Vivian was caught in a dilemma with no way to explain herself. Speaking up would mean admitting she knew everyone could hear her thoughts, but staying silent would make her the one responsible for the whole school being ostracized. The principal sneered coldly. High school students should act like high school students. If you spend all day on your phones instead of studying, I'll be the first to call your parents. Soon, a campus-wide crackdown began. All the teachers were scanning the students with metal detectors. Some homeroom teachers brought metal detectors to search the empty classrooms. The dormitories were even more heavily targeted, with every single room being checked. As a result, morning self-study was cancelled that day, and over 500 phones were confiscated school-wide. The principal showed some consideration by having students write their names on the devices, which they could retrieve after graduation. But out of these 500-plus phones, not a single one belongs to me. Before dismissing the meeting, I gave my classmates an apologetic smile. Sorry to let you all down, I can't afford a phone, and my village doesn't even have internet access yet. As the students dispersed, the principal made a point of stopping Vivian. Classmate, without solid evidence, you shouldn't falsely accuse others. It's a terrible thing to do. Vivian blinked her innocent eyes. Principal. I don't understand what you're talking about. I didn't say anything. How could I have accused anyone? It was you who suddenly announced that some students had cheated. Even the principal couldn't explain this paranormal phenomenon. He had no choice but to swallow his bitterness alone. After this incident, the students all held some degree of resentment towards Vivian. When the principal went to check the surveillance footage, he found the cameras had been deliberately damaged. But he no longer took Vivian's inner thoughts at face value. Instead, he proactively organized a major examination. When another test was announced just days after the previous one, many students grew resentful. Vivian became particularly flustered, voicing repeated objections. Why should we all have to retake the exam just because Jenna cheated? If she wants to take it, let her do it alone. The students were exhausted, and they couldn't help but agree deep down, however. The homeroom teacher said sternly, until the matter is fully investigated, we cannot say that Jenna cheated. Please don't jump to conclusions and accuse your classmate unfairly. Did you really think I didn't know you brought phones? I usually turn a blind eye, but I never imagined you'd dare buy answers from online forums. If I actually investigated the cheating, not a single one of you would get away with it. Clear your desks for the exam immediately. The test begins in 30 minutes. The students, intimidated by the teacher's authority, quickly prepared the examination room. Only Vivian had turned pale, made an excuse to go to the restroom, but had no idea what to do there, came back looking pale just 1 minute before the exam started. Exams, and more exams, the principal's go-to solution. Some problems I could solve with my eyes closed. I finished the exam in no time. Right after the Chinese exam, I had just laid my head down for a nap at my desk when the homeroom teacher called me out. Jenna, your grandmother dropped off some fruit for you. In my past life, I ate it without a second thought. I ended up with such bad diarrhea I was completely drained. Grandma felt absolutely terrible about it when she heard what happened. A vendor was having a clearance sale at the school gate, eager to get home, selling bright red apples for just 1 yuan per gene, thinking she'd scored a great deal. She immediately bought 10 jean and asked my homeroom teacher to deliver them to me. I never expected it would cause me to fail the exam. On top of that, I was accused of cheating. Heartbroken, she sank into depression and passed away not long after. Thinking back now, why would there suddenly be an apple clearance sale right at the school gate? I turned around and met Vivian's expectant smile. In that instant, I knew exactly who was behind this. Just like the evil queen crafting her poison apple for Snow White, here we have Vivian pushing her own toxic fruit. Just as she was beaming with joy, thinking I would eat it, I started handing out the apples to my classmates one by one. Classmates, these are fresh, big apples my grandma bought at the school gate for just 1 yuan per jean. Have a free taste, and let's hope we all pass this afternoon's math exam smoothly. Vivian was dumbfounded. She couldn't understand why I wasn't following the script, but the next second, she realized this was a golden opportunity to win people over. Quickly started slinging mud in her mind. I just saw Jenna washing apples with toilet water. Can you believe she'd make everyone sick with diarrhea just to win first place? No way I'm letting this slide, but what should I say to make everyone believe me? The students hesitated again upon hearing this, having just lost their phone this morning. They were now wary of trusting some random inner voice that came out of nowhere. Finally, the class monitor couldn't hold back and openly questioned, "Jenna, where did you wash this apple?" I shook my head. Didn't wash it, eating it straight up. A little dirt never hurt anyone. The whole class immediately turned to look at Vivian. The class monitor cut straight to the chase. "Vivian, you claimed this apple was washed with toilet water. Do you have any proof?" Vivian tried hard to act composed. "Monitor, what are you talking about? I didn't say anything just now, but once a secret starts to unravel, it can't help but spill out. Nonsense. I clearly heard you say this apple was washed with toilet water." Then one by one, more and more students stepped forward to back up the class monitor's statement. Nobody's fooled here when these so-called inner thoughts suddenly pop up. Who knows if they're genuine or not? Vivian stubbornly refused to budge. Having seen enough of the drama, I walked over to Vivian with an apple in hand. "Oh, come on, we're all classmates here. What noise? I didn't hear anything." "Here, Vivian, have an apple." Vivian recoiled in fear, stepping back repeatedly. "No thanks, keep that away from me. Don't worry, I bought this apple from a vendor right outside the school gate. It's not poisoned. If you don't believe me, I'll take a bite to show you." Crunch. I took a bite right away, chewed and swallowed. Now the whole class was even more skeptical. "If you weren't behind this, why would Jenna eat the apple if it was really washed with toilet water? You're clearly setting me up on purpose." "Exactly. How vicious. I'll only believe you had nothing to do with that noise if you eat some too." The class was growing increasingly rowdy. Vivian hadn't expected her plan to backfire so spectacularly. To prove she wasn't deliberately framing Jenna, she picked up the apple with grim determination and took a bite. During the afternoon exam, the entire class 1, grade 11 turned into human sprinklers. Every student, including me, had such severe diarrhea that our legs turned to jelly. Our homeroom teacher was so alarmed that she immediately called an ambulance to rush us to the hospital. After the doctor arranged for everyone to get their stomachs pumped, Vivian finally snapped. Screaming and crying that they'd have their billionaire Beijing socialite parents teach this toxic classmate a lesson, I lay pale-faced on the bed, yet deep down, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. In my past life, I'd been stuck dealing with this alone until I was completely drained. Now she finally understood how it felt. "Vivian, if I were the one who poisoned it, why would I be foolish enough to eat it myself?" Vivian clutched her stomach. "It was you. It had to be you. You were clearly jealous of my achievements and wanted to stop me from competing in the provincial contest. Just wait until Mom and Dad get here. You're going to regret this." Although my classmates didn't actually believe I'd poisoned anyone, they still held a bit of a grudge against me in their hearts. After all, I was the one who had handed out those poisoned apples to everyone. I sincerely apologized to everyone and tried to reassure them, saying, "Everyone, rest assured. I called the police 2 hours ago, and they've already arrested the merchant selling poisoned apples. We'll have answers for you soon." Vivian, there's no need to get worked up either, but honestly, for someone with 680 points like me to be jealous of your 650, that's just ridiculous, don't you think? Vivian was so furious it made her stomach ache. But she quickly realized something and hurriedly tried to stop them. "You actually called the police. That fruit vendor barely makes enough to get by each day. How could you report an innocent person just to avoid taking responsibility? Withdraw the report now. You hear me?" This time, I didn't even need to argue. My classmates immediately fired back. Right. We only nearly lost our lives, but that poor vendor might have missed out on some sales." The teacher brought the apples to the classroom door, and Jenna distributed them directly. When would she have had time to poison them? It must have been the street vendors doing. Exactly. Why would the teacher poison them? Use that brain of yours. Soon after, under police interrogation, the street vendor confessed everything. He said a young female student in a high school uniform gave them to him for free and told him to sell them to an elderly lady using a cane. The vendor thought the granddaughter was showing filial piety to her grandmother and deliberately created a surprise, selling everything for just 1 yuan per jean. Little did they know it turned into a shock, nearly caused harm to over 50 classmates. Accompanied by the police, the shop owner was escorted to the hospital ward to identify the mastermind. Vivian buried her head under the blankets, pretending to be dead. To everyone's surprise, the street vendor recognized her instantly. That's her, the one wearing the diamond necklace. I thought she was beautiful and kind-hearted, but she turned out to be a murderous schemer. Vivian was trembling with rage. Yet she flatly denied the accusation. Where's the proof? How can you definitively show I incited you to poison anyone? The police had also obtained surveillance footage. Strangely enough, Vivian simply stood there holding the bag of apples without saying a word. The vendor then stepped forward and took the apples from her. He even assured her he'd take care of it. We're missing the most crucial piece of evidence. With her family's influence at work, Vivian evaded legal consequences. While the street vendor was forced to pay a hefty settlement, yet the classmates were utterly chilled. They too had experienced that eerie phenomenon of hearing inner thoughts, but no one would believe them if they spoke of it. Eventually, after everyone had recovered, we returned to school to complete the remaining exams. 3 days later, the results were announced, and I secured the top spot with a score of 698. Meanwhile, Vivian, who usually came in second, scored just over 300 points, plummeting to the bottom 10 of the class. With these exam results, the principal felt confident in sending me to compete in the competition. I lived up to everyone's expectations and won first prize. The school awarded me $5,000, plus the $2,000 my grandmother and I had saved from collecting scrap. I finally managed to pay off the outstanding hospital fees. This meant my mother could continue her treatment at the hospital. I returned to school and focused on my studies. With senior year approaching, teachers were placing heavy emphasis on academic performance. They would analyze each student's exam papers individually, explaining the issues in detail. That day, I gathered my assignments and headed to the office. The moment I stepped inside, I heard the math teacher's exasperated voice, clearly frustrated with the student's lack of progress. How could you get such a basic geometry problem wrong? How many times do I have to remind you to draw auxiliary lines? And what about trigonometry? You've mixed up all the formulas. What on earth were you thinking during the exam? Vivian wore a look of complete indifference. The moment he spotted me, his expression instantly darkened with a hint of humiliation, cutting off the teacher's incessant lecturing. Enough, it's just one failed exam. Must you go on and on? My previous teachers in the capital were all Ivy League graduates. Who do you think you are? You can't even teach properly and now you're shifting blame onto me. You're just lazy, completely unfit to be a teacher. With that, she turned and walked up to me. Then she threw down the gauntlet. You just got lucky this time. Next time, first place will definitely be mine. After Vivian left, I quickly poured a glass of water for the math teacher, worried he might have a stroke. From that day on, the math teacher never bothered Vivian again, nor did he call on her in class. Things were quiet for a few days. When it came time to collect class fees, it was just like before. The class monitor left the backpack containing class funds in the classroom, but by afternoon, over 2,000 yuan had mysteriously vanished. The monitor was frantic, beads of sweat forming on their forehead. Who's been messing with my backpack? Everyone shook their heads in confusion. The class monitor laid down an ultimatum. I won't be here for the last PE class. Whoever took the money, if you return it now, I'll let bygones be bygones, but if it's not returned, don't blame me for calling the police. I won't hesitate to put our friendship aside. The students exchanged uneasy glances. Who would do this? Stealing from the class fund. They deserve to stay broke. Didn't a senior get expelled last year for stealing money? Oh my god. I always thought our classmates were just a bit naive but harmless. I never expected a thief in our class. I'm ashamed to be in the same room with them. Hey, do the right thing and return it now. They were teenagers, at that age when pride means everything. The last thing they wanted was to be suspected of stealing. Just then, Vivian's inner voice spoke up again. Who else could it be? Jenna's the one who's always short on cash in our class. I just saw her rummaging through the class monitor's backpack, but her family is really struggling financially, so I guess she had her reasons for taking the money. Maybe I should just cover the missing class funds myself. I just hope she doesn't try to badmouth me to the teacher next time and get me in trouble. The other students in the class began to look uncomfortable. For one thing, Vivian had already screwed me over twice. And let's face it, I was the poorest in our class. I had the strongest motive to steal the money. Some classmates started whispering behind my back. Who would have thought the top student in our grade had sticky fingers? Even if I tell the teacher, they'll definitely take sides. Why should they? That's my money. It was our money to begin with. Let's just take it back. When the class bell rang, the history teacher noticed the tense atmosphere in the classroom and pressed for an explanation. The class monitor had no choice but to explain the situation to the teacher. The history teacher declared with righteous fury, poor grades can be remedied, but bad character paired with education only breeds greater harm to society. Today I will unmask the thief. Speak now. Will you confess voluntarily, or must I search each one of you? Another search. Many students turned pale. They had bought new phones again and brought them to school to play with, some boys, in their panic. stood right up and said, I know who stole it. It's Jenna. I've even seen her and her grandmother picking through trash on the street. No one else would even think about that money except her. That's right. Vivian saw it with her own eyes. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself. Teacher, Vivian stood up, pretending to be conflicted. Teacher, since Jenna comes from a poor family, it's understandable that she might steal some money. Maybe we should just let this go. But what she was really thinking was, our history teacher was sharp enough to identify the thief right away. Too bad Jenna had already spent all the money, without solid evidence. The teacher might end up being falsely accused and risk losing her teaching license. The history teacher had zero tolerance for any misconduct. She slammed the teaching plan onto my desk and said, You, with your lack of integrity, don't deserve to sit in the front row. Get to the back of the class, next to the trash can. Trash belongs with garbage. You're no longer fit to be the history class representative. Starting today, Vivian will take over the role. Everyone should follow her example. To my surprise, I actually felt somewhat relieved to be relieved of my duties as history class representative. Teachers always pick class representatives based on academic performance. I aced every subject except geography. I was forced to serve as class representative for Chinese, math, foreign language, and history, as well as the academic monitor. Now that I've been relieved of these duties, I can devote more time to my studies, so I stood up and answered with excitement, Thank you, teacher, I'll move right away. God knows how much chalk dust you swallow sitting in the front row. The back row is actually quieter. But then the history teacher flew into a rage. What do you mean? Think I'm wronging you? Who are you grinning at? Exactly. The money isn't with you now because you've squandered it all. 30 years dedicated to education, and I never thought I'd end up nurturing a thief. I'm ashamed to face society. You will admit it today. You're the one who stole the money. 5 minutes had passed since the class bell rang. Continuing this argument will only cut into our class time. There are no cameras in the classroom, so anything I say is pointless. I might as well just admit it. Fine. Yes, I stole it. Are you happy now? Teacher, can we please start the lesson? Our class is already way behind the others in history. If we don't get started, how are we supposed to finish the entire book before the final exams? I swiftly carried the desk over to the trash pile. I was afraid of wasting the students' precious study time. The history teacher was so furious he was gasping for breath, but he still managed to finish the lesson seething with anger. After class, he still wouldn't let me off the hook. Where's the money? Hand it over today. No excuses. I was busy handing out assignment notebooks and told my classmates to get ready for the next period's English listening exercise, answering without looking up. I'll have the whole class come with me to my place to get it tonight. The history teacher sneered. Fine, let's see just how shameless you can be. I'm reporting this to the principal. You can kiss your enrollment goodbye. On my way home from school, the history teacher followed close behind, determined to teach me a lesson. The setting sun was breathtakingly beautiful, perfect timing to memorize English vocabulary. This way I can save time tomorrow to preview math. When my classmates heard me reciting words, they exchanged bewildered glances, while Vivian sneered. No wonder she's the top student. Such mental fortitude, still studying even after stealing money. I pretended not to understand. Thanks for the compliment, but hey, I did rank first in the grade. Vivian got completely shut down and immediately clammed up. Soon enough, I came to a stop right in front of the junkyard. My classmates were baffled. What's the meaning of this? Planning to collect trash on site to sell for money and pay off your debts? Holy crap, you're not expecting us to help you pick up garbage, are you? How do you have the nerve? The history teacher felt the anger of being made a fool of. How dare you mess with me? I pointed at a dilapidated thatched hut next to the garbage mountain and said, I'm home. Only then did everyone shift their gaze from the towering garbage mountain to the rickety thatched shack that looked ready to collapse at any moment. This is your home. The class monitor let out a piercing scream, following me inside. You'd see 2 worn-out cardboard boxes serving as beds, with pots and pans right beside them. The space wasn't even as big as his bathroom. Wait, where's the bathroom? The class monitor couldn't help but ask aloud. I pointed toward the public restroom at the end of the street. Over there. The class monitor froze. This dump was at least a kilometer away from the nearest restroom. The words asking for money got stuck in my throat. Impossible to utter. Even the history teacher stood there slack-jawed, his principles and conscience at war with each other. The room was so cramped it couldn't fit the entire class. Students had to take turns going in and out like tourists at a crowded attraction, yet after reading it, they all remained silent. Just then, Grandma came back pulling a flatbed cart full of trash. The pile of garbage on the cart towered 3 to 4 meters over her head. The elderly woman trudged along, pushing a load hundreds of times heavier than herself. Seeing the circle of classmates gathered around, Grandma asked in confusion, Jenna, what's going on? I was about to speak when the class president immediately covered my mouth. We're here to visit you. Yes, just visiting. All the classmates nodded in agreement. The history teacher looked conflicted, but didn't intervene. It was the first time Grandma had seen me bring a classmate home, and she was so thrilled she kept slapping her thighs. So you're a friend of Jenna's. I'm afraid we haven't been very hospitable. We don't have anything proper at home. Let me just sell this load of recyclables, then I'll go to the market and buy you all a nice fish to eat. The class monitor no longer wanted the money at this point. Seeing how miserable Jenna and her grandmother looked, he'd rather cover the shortfall himself. No, we're not hungry, but they couldn't resist the elderly woman's insistence. The class monitor could only signal with her eyes for the boys to help the elderly woman with her cart. Two strong boys from the class immediately took the cart from the grandmother's hands. We've got this. The grandmother's eyes welled up with tears of gratitude. Such good children, all such good children. We really appreciate you looking out for Jenna at school. The so-called good kids lowered their heads one by one. Guilt weighed heavily on their hearts. They pinned the blame on Jenna despite having zero proof she'd stolen anything. Many students had already lost their nerve and were talking about going home. Vivian stopped them. No one's leaving. Your contributions are in the class fund too. Don't you want that money back? The stopped students were furious. Can't I burn my money if I'm rolling in it? Forget it. I'll just pay again if I have to. Countless students chimed in unison. It's not that much anyway. Worst case, we'll just pay it again. Just pretend I forgot to pay this time. You never actually paid. Did you? Exactly. When have we ever collected class fees? The students went back and forth with excuses. The class monitor knew they were lying but chose to remain silent. The history teacher didn't utter another word after stepping inside. Since they were already here, I quickly pulled them into the house. Don't go, even if you won't accept payment. My grandma's cooking is absolutely delicious. At least stay for a meal. The classmate I was holding on to looked completely shattered. He didn't dare look me in the eye. I seized the chance to rummage through everything and found a mooncake box. It was the prettiest box I'd ever scavenged from the trash. When I opened it, the box was filled with small change, 10 cent, 50 cent, 1 yuan, and 5 yuan coins. The largest denomination was no more than 10 yuan. I started counting the money right in front of my classmates, but no matter how I added it up, it only came to 562 yuan and 90 cents. I shoved the mooncake box into the class monitor's hands. We're still 1,500 short. Let me see if I can find more. The class monitor froze on the spot as if holding a hot potato. Don't bother looking. I believe you didn't steal it. The history teacher, unable to save face, said through gritted teeth, I'll cover the 2,000 for you. Come to me if you need help in the future. Just don't steal money again. I ignored them all and dug another coin out of the trash heap. Still not enough. I told the class monitor to raid the rat's nest. From the rat's nest, we unearthed a 10 yuan bill. Holding this rat-gnawed 10 yuan note, the class monitor who had pointed me out in class slapped himself twice across the face. Chung Tsui, and the red egg. What followed was a back-and-forth struggle. Much like the ritual of refusing and accepting red envelopes during Chinese New Year, I was adamant about giving. But the class monitor was equally determined not to accept. The history teacher was insistent on providing me with financial support. The three parties were at each other's throats. Finally, Vivian had seen enough. Just because she's poor, does that make her deserving of pity? Poverty breeds deceit while wealth nurtures conscience. If we let her off this time, what's to stop her from evading taxes or committing murder and arson next? You're all abetting a tyrant. The history teacher was getting fed up too. Then what do you suggest? Anyone with half a brain can see her family's situation. Where would they get the money to pay? Vivian sneered, pointing at the red cloth bundle Grandma kept by the bedside. What about that? Wrapped up so meticulously. Must be expensive. This whole shack was probably thrown together just to gain sympathy. Everyone's eyes turned to the red cloth bundle, which stood out starkly in the cramped, dimly lit thatched hut. I took it out and handed it to the squad leader. Perfect timing. There's 2,000 in here. Upon hearing 2,000, Vivian pounced on it like she'd caught someone red-handed, shouting hysterically, See, what did I tell you? She's been faking it all along. The class fund is right here, and you all actually fell for her lies. If it weren't for me, she would have fooled every single one of you. The class monitor opened it, and sure enough, there were $2,000 inside, neatly tied with a red string. The history teacher said with profound distress, You almost had me fooled. Tell me the truth. Where did this money come from? This is your last chance. If you lie, I'll call the police immediately. I calmly uttered 7 words. My father's death compensation. Instantly, all the commotion ceased. The class monitor tremblingly opened the death certificate and compensation statement tucked beneath the money. The history teacher smacked his own head hard when he saw the cause of death was a car accident. Vivian screamed, Impossible. What kind of lie are you spinning now? You just keep piling one story on top of another. You're nothing but a pathological liar. You'd even claim your own father dropped dead just to make excuses. Let me make this clear. Don't think for a second that this sob story gets you out of paying. I absolutely refuse. Before he could finish, the class president cut him off sharply. Enough. I was the one who lost the class funds. He held up the death certificate and compensation agreement for the class to see. This 2,000 yuan compensation has nothing to do with our class money, and from now on, no one is to call Jenna a thief. The students had long since regretted it. They were all spirited youths. Naturally drawn to order and justice, though usually glued to their phones, they kept a clear head when it mattered. When did we collect class fees today? I don't remember. Yeah, class monitor, let's do another collection tomorrow. I'll cover Jenna's class fee. Don't even try to beat me to it. I'm paying. The classmates were trying to outdo each other in enthusiasm. Vivian was completely dumbfounded. You're helping that worthless liar. Karma will get you, with that. She turned and walked away. The other students began filing out, but just before leaving, they suddenly dropped something, then pretended not to notice as they picked it up. Oh my, how did this $50 bill get here? Jenna, since we're at your place, it must be yours. Without waiting for a response, she pressed the money into my hand. The others followed suit, picking up bills from the floor. Some were 50s, others hundreds. My eyes were welling up as I prepared to return the money to them. Money doesn't grow on trees around here, take it all back, but my classmates, following Vivian's lead, quickly dashed away. Under the setting sun, countless lively figures ran freely and joyfully down the road. After everyone left, the class sports committee representative stayed behind. I'm really sorry for blaming you. I secretly brought a new phone to school. My last one got confiscated by the principal. If the history teacher finds this one, my parents will kill me. I swear I didn't mean to set you up. It was Vivian's idea. Anyway, I'm sorry. The sports rep bowed at a perfect 90-degree angle, and I couldn't be bothered to hold a grudge, so I let it go. The next day during homeroom teacher's Chinese class, he came to my desk out of habit to ask me to hand out assignments, but saw Vivian instead. Why is it you? Where's Jenna? I raised my hand from the back row. Teacher, I'm over here. The homeroom teacher hurried to the back row. Why are you sitting next to the trash can? The situation was complicated, so the class monitor explained what had happened. He particularly stressed that he'd most likely lost the class funds himself, and that I hadn't taken them. The homeroom teacher immediately summoned the history teacher. Do you have any proof that Jenna stole the money? The history teacher turned pale. He'd gotten carried away after hearing Vivian's flattering words yesterday and took them at face value. No. What gives you the right to move a student's seat without permission, and right next to the trash can, no less? The history teacher snapped. Classmate Ethan identified him, and Vivian saw it with her own eyes. Ethan, the class sports rep, shook his head nervously. No, I heard it from Vivian too. Ask anyone in our class. We all heard Vivian say it. Vivian knew perfectly well, but they had no proof. She barely started speaking when Ethan cut her off. Shut up. I know you're about to say you didn't open your mouth, and you're right, you didn't. You've been yapping nonstop in your head. Vivian's face twisted with rage. At that moment, the class monitor sighed and said, as bizarre as it sounds, I clearly heard Vivian say that Jenna stole the class funds. Exactly, she even said Jenna's poor and has the strongest motive. Other students chimed in to back her up, but Vivian denied it, saying, How ridiculous, you wronged Jenna yourselves. And now you're trying to pin the blame on me. Prove I said those things if you can. Otherwise, this is just slander. Do you really think the police would believe your baseless accusations? The students were left speechless by the retort. Just as the situation reached a stalemate, the homeroom teacher let out a light chuckle. Weren't we supposed to be investigating who stole the class funds? How did we suddenly shift to discussing idealism? It's such a simple matter. Why not just check the surveillance footage? The history teacher shook his head. Didn't the cameras break down a while ago? That's why I replaced them a few days ago. Sorry, I forgot to mention it. The moment he finished speaking, Vivian's face turned paler than chalk. He kept muttering impossible like a man possessed. Soon, the surveillance footage was retrieved, under the watchful eyes of the entire class. A familiar figure slipped over to the class monitor's desk and took the class funds, and everyone knew who this person was. Vivian. The only reason nobody suspected Vivian before was because her parents are loaded. I heard her monthly allowance is in the six-figure range. There's no way she'd be eyeing such petty cash from the class fund. When everyone stormed back from the security room, Vivian slammed the money onto the class monitor's desk, putting on a brave face. It was just a joke. I wasn't actually going to take it. Look how worked up you all are. The class monitor clenched his fists and charged forward, startling Vivian so badly she toppled right off her chair. But then the class monitor suddenly pulled back his fist and sneered. Can't you take a joke? I wasn't actually going to hit you. Look how worked up you're getting. Tears welled up in Vivian's eyes as she whimpered. You're all bullying me. I'm going to tell my parents to have every single one of you expelled, but the class monitor wasn't buying it. I'm also curious why the daughter of a Beijing big shot would study in some no-name southern city like ours. It's not even a provincial capital or special economic zone, and your parents haven't shown up once since school started, have they? Vivian started frantically throwing books at her classmates. Shut up. I am their daughter. I'm just studying here temporarily. I'll go back someday. When I get first place, Mom and Dad will definitely come for me. With those final words, she seemed to be psyching herself up. After that incident, the whole class gave her the cold shoulder. No one would speak to her, and the teachers were deeply disappointed when they learned she had talked back to the math teacher. I stopped caring about her grades. Vivian finally settled down and stopped making her thoughts known. One day after school, As I was walking home and just passing by an internet cafe, a guy with dyed blonde hair called out to me, "Hey, nerd, lend me some cash. I'll pay you back tomorrow." I'd recognize that voice anywhere. It was that blonde punk who'd been harassing me in my past life. My body moved before my brain could process the fear. I just started sprinting like crazy, until I heard the blonde guy's blood-curdling scream behind me, "How dare you bully Jenna? Got some nerve messing with a student from our school." I turned around and locked eyes with Ethan, the class sports rep. He stood at attention like a guilty puppy seeking redemption. "Don't worry, Jenna. I'll teach this guy a lesson for you." I know I should be saying thank you right now, but what came out of my mouth was, "Sneaking off to the internet cafe to play games behind your parents' back again." The class athletic rep immediately begged. "They confiscated my new phone again. Please don't tell my parents. I'm begging you," while we were talking. The blonde guy below started whimpering. "Bro, please, my leg's about to snap too." The team captain released his grip and kicked the bleached-haired guy again. "If I catch you bullying first-high students again, you're done for." The bleached-haired guy nodded frantically, yelling "never again" as he hobbled away. Seeing how much authority Ethan commanded, I immediately struck a deal with him. I told his parents I'd tutor him after school, and he'd escort me home, giving him the perfect chance to hit the internet. This way, my personal safety was also taken care of. A week later, when our class monitor and some others passed by the internet cafe after playing ball, Ethan quickly put on his mask and hat, crossed his legs, and tried his best not to be recognized. Across the street, I was about to wave to our class monitor. Then I remembered Ethan's situation and awkwardly lowered my half-raised hand. It must have looked like someone was threatening me. Just then Vivian showed up and spotted me lurking near the internet cafe. Couldn't help but complain internally again. "Jenna is clearly dating some internet cafe punk, yet she invites us over. Are we just part of her game? How shameless." The classmates hadn't moved at first. Hearing these thoughts, they immediately dashed across the street. "You damn punks. How dare you mess with students from our school? Let's get him, boys." Vivian was stunned, and so was I. The former couldn't understand why our classmates, after hearing her inner thoughts, didn't believe her and instead came to my rescue. As for the latter, I was too slow to react at first, but once I snapped out of it, I immediately shouted, "Stop hitting him, it's Ethan. He snuck online without permission, and I was covering for him." After the classmates backed off, I quickly helped the bruised and battered P.E. monitor to his feet. "You okay?" The 6-foot-tall guy crumpled against my shoulder, sobbing, "I'm innocent." Just then, his parents cut him too. "What's there to complain about? You deserve that. Sneaking online behind our backs serves you right." The couple dragged Ethan away by his ear. Under the setting sun, my classmates and I exchanged bewildered looks. He burst into laughter only after the family's voices faded around the corner. No one believed in inner voices anymore, because the youths only believed in the justice within their hearts. From then on, whether Vivian spoke with her new voice or her original one, no one paid her any mind. The principal finally managed to restore the deliberately damaged surveillance footage, which showed Vivian sneaking into the control room late at night to delete the recordings. They also took the opportunity to uncover her chat logs on the forum, where she had been buying exam papers in advance and searching for answers. But the principal didn't say a word about it. Instead, with just 1 hour left before the monthly exam, they suddenly announced that the test papers would be replaced. Vivian's triumphant smile froze on her face. "Switch exams? On what grounds? Why should we change perfectly good test papers? You might not mind the hassle, but I certainly do." The homeroom teacher shot her an icy glare and retorted as if she knew the whole truth. "What's the problem? The exam hasn't started yet. It doesn't matter which test you take. Besides, changing the exam papers was the principal's decision. If you have any complaints, take it up with the principal's office." Vivian seethed with resentment, but there was nothing she could do to change the situation. She scored even worse on this exam than when she had food poisoning, barely scraping over 200 points. Another speech under the national flag. With the principal presenting the award to the top student of the grade, I stepped onto the podium once again. This time, there were no distracting inner thoughts. After stepping down, the principal solemnly announced, "I must now share some deeply troubling news. Our investigation has confirmed that Vivian repeatedly brought a mobile phone onto campus, purchased advance copies of the citywide standardized exam answers through an online forum, engaged in academic dishonesty, and distributed these answers to others, seriously compromising the integrity of the examination process. Furthermore, she stole class funds and attempted to frame a fellow student for the theft. The school board has reached a decision. Vivian is hereby expelled." The entire school was in an uproar. No one expected the Beijing socialite princess to be capable of such a vicious act. Vivian was also panicking. She rushed onto the stage and publicly confronted the principal. "On what grounds Where's the evidence? Without proof, you're just slandering me. When my parents find out, do you even want to keep your position as principal? But she's not the principal. Without solid evidence, she wouldn't make baseless accusations. All the evidence is filed in the office. Feel free to check it yourself. As for your parents, even if they don't come to me, I'll be reaching out to them. I can't believe how Cassius raised a daughter like you. Later, Vivian's father came to the school. The first thing they said was, the school can handle this however they see fit. She's not my daughter anyway. We found our real daughter a long time ago. The nanny swapped them. She's Vivian's mother. I've already gone above and beyond by not sending her back to the countryside and paying for her education. Now that she's gotten herself into trouble, she'll have to face the consequences on her own. Vivian knelt on the floor, desperately clutching her father's pant leg. Dad, you're my father. Are you really going to abandon me because of that scheming bitch? You promised that if I studied hard, truly repented, and got first place, you'd bring me back home. Outside the office door, the entire class was holding their breath, pressed against the wall. So Vivian is a fake heiress. No wonder she didn't stay in the capital living it up, but had to come to this school instead. Meanwhile, Vivian's inner voice kept raging. Chloe fell down the stairs all by herself. Why am I being blamed for this? She even poisoned my milk and bullied me at school. No wonder she's so cunning. Growing up in that backwater really taught her some tricks. However, Vivian's father pushed her hand away. He warned, "Stop with your mind games. I know perfectly well whether to trust what you're thinking or the evidence from the surveillance." With that, he turned to the principal and apologized. "Sorry. But does she always make sounds without moving her lips? Don't believe it. It's all lies. My own daughter nearly died from her torment. At first, I fell for it several times myself. If I hadn't uncovered the truth in the end, I wouldn't have believed such bizarre things could happen in this world." The principal sighed in shared victimhood. "Tell me about it. I almost believed it." Before leaving, Vivian's father kicked her away as if she were a piece of trash clinging to his leg. Saying we'd bring you back if you got first place was just a lie to placate you, so you wouldn't stubbornly refuse to leave. Every time I see your face, I'm reminded of how that nanny deceived me for over a decade. Take you back, in your dreams. After Vivian's father left, the principal had no choice but to ask Vivian's biological mother to pick her up, but her phone was completely unreachable. Just as he was racking his brains over the situation, I pushed open the office door. "Principal. Since Vivian possesses the extraordinary ability to project her inner thoughts, why don't we refer her to state authorities? I'm certain the government could use someone with her rare talent." 3 days later, Vivian vanished from the public eye, taking her entire past with her. A year later, I topped the provincial exams. The school went all out with celebrations, hanging congratulatory banners everywhere like they were going out of style. My homeroom teacher threw me a graduation banquet out of her own pocket. At the banquet, I raised my glass to my classmates. "Thank you for tuning out the background noise and choosing to believe in me. May we always stay true to ourselves and forge our own paths with courage, no matter how loud the world gets." My classmates rose to their feet. Amidst the clamor of conflicting voices, my heart holds steadfast to what is just. May our future be grand, bright, and brilliant. Story 2. The first thing Mom did after her rebirth was on the very day of the divorce. She gave up fighting for my custody. "Give me $5 million, and the child is yours." With those words, Mom turned and walked away. I didn't cry or make a fuss, quietly tipped my father's hand, because I was reborn too. Dad hugged me excitedly, planting kisses on both cheeks. "Good girl, Juno. I told you your mother wouldn't want you." Dad noticed my sadness. He comforted me, saying, "It's okay, stay with me. And I'll spoil you rotten." My eyes remained fixed on Mom's retreating figure, yet she never looked back as she stepped into that car. Your mother's something else. Divorces me and jumps straight into another man's car. What a disgrace. I lowered my head. In my past life, even after my parents divorced, I stayed with Mom. She never spoke ill of Dad in front of me. She always said, "Juno, no matter what happens between your father and me, he'll always love you." That's what I always thought too. I remained silent. 1 week after my parents' divorce, I couldn't hold back anymore and called Mom, only to find she'd already blocked my number. When I asked Dad again about Mom's whereabouts, he frowned impatiently and said, "You're with me now. Stop asking about your mother. Really, didn't I tell you? She abandoned you. She's nothing but a heartless woman." I let out a bitter laugh. That's how Dad spoke of her. I just found out that Mom had already processed her immigration paperwork on the very day of the divorce a week ago, leaving the country with her college mentor's son to pursue further studies. Dad couldn't get over it. He regretted agreeing too soon. The divorce papers were signed too hastily. I should have uncovered Mom's affair sooner. That way we could kick Mom out without spending a dime, leaving her with nothing. But I knew. Mom gave up her chance to study abroad and abandoned her own dreams for Dad's sake. I came along in their second year of marriage. We thought our little family of 3 would stay this happy forever, but soon, Dad started coming home less and less. At first, Mom would still smile and tell me Dad was too busy with work during the startup phase of his company, until the day Dad forgot their wedding anniversary, leaving Mom waiting at home all night with a prepared dinner. Then later, He forgot my birthday. Mom could no longer lie to herself. Finally pushed beyond endurance, she filed for divorce, until, seeing my dejected expression, Dad realized he'd spoken too harshly. 02, he smiled and picked me up. Good girl, Juno. It's Daddy's fault. Your mom, well, never mind. I'll find you a new mom someday. She'll be 1,000 times better than your mother ever was. 1 month after the divorce, Dad brought a new woman into our home. I know her. She's suing her. The new assistant my dad's company just hired. In my past life, Dad would always complain during meals about how clumsy his new assistant was, messing up everything, said with disgust. Mom even defended her. Oh, come on, she's just a fresh college graduate. Cut her some slack. Later, when Dad mentioned her again, the irritation was gone, replaced by a smile. Back then, Mom had cautiously asked Dad, "You've been mentioning suing her quite often lately, haven't you?" Dad looked uncomfortable. He snapped at Mom in defensive anger. Must you be so petty? I merely mentioned a coworker a few times, and you're already jealous. Should I fire every female employee at our company just to please you? Mom looked hurt, her words caught in her throat. In the end, she said nothing. Inha walked over, and I sweetly called out Big Sis. She pinched my cheek and said, "What a sweet talker you are. Juno, see what I got you, do you like it?" I saw the Barbie doll in her hand along with my favorite white princess dress. I looked up with a beaming smile. "I love it. Thank you, sis." Dad stepped forward and hugged Hasu with doting affection. "See, I told you our Juno is such a sweetheart. Wasn't I right?" When Dad left to work, only she and I remained in the room. Suingha approached with ingratiating eagerness. "Juno, be honest with me. Would you mind having me as your new mom?" I saw the probing look in her eyes. With a smile, I replied, "Of course I wouldn't mind." Unconvinced, she pressed further. "But, don't you miss your mom?" I answered without hesitation. "Not at all. Dad said she ran off with some man and abandoned me. Besides, Mom was old and frumpy and nothing like you. Auntie, you're so young and pretty. I'd rather have you as my new mom." My words completely dispelled Suingha's doubts. She let out a sigh of relief, stepped into her father's study. Through the door, I heard voices inside. "I told you Juno's only 6. She won't remember anything. Just treat her well, and she'll return the kindness. If I didn't love you, I'd never play stepmother to someone else's child." Soon, the muffled sounds of passionate kissing and Dad's ragged breathing seeped through the door. I turned away silently. On the day Dad married Suingha, I was their flower girl. In the distance, I thought I saw a familiar figure. It looked just like Mom. But when I rushed out, there was no one in sight. Of course, Mom truly abandoned me. She's already gone abroad to chase her dreams. Why would she ever return to this place of heartbreak? After all, in her past life, she suffered greatly for my sake. When my parents divorced, Mom fought tooth and nail for my custody, but Mom was unemployed while Dad ran his own company, so Mom's chances of winning the custody battle were slim. Mom filed for divorce, demanding half of Dad's assets. But Dad just smiled and said the company was under Grandma and Grandpa's name. None of it belonged to him, not even the house or cars. That was when Mom realized Dad had been scheming against her since their wedding day. All this time, Mom had never bothered with these matters, trusting Dad completely, yet she never imagined the person sharing her bed would be the one plotting against her the most. In the end, my mother fought for my custody. She left with nothing but me in her arms. No one could imagine how hard life was for an unemployed woman raising a child alone. What's worse, my father had plenty of money but refused to pay a single cent in child support. My brow twitched. The temperature hit 40 degrees Celsius, yet our tiny rented room didn't even have air conditioning. 3, with no windows, the stifling heat became unbearable. After work each evening, Mom would cool me down by gently wiping my body with cold water over and over. Meanwhile, sweat poured off her like rain from the relentless heat. After Mom and Dad got divorced, Mom couldn't afford the tuition for that elite private school anymore, so I had to transfer to a more affordable public elementary school. Juno, I promise you'll go back to your old school once Mom saves up enough. All my extracurricular classes, piano, dance, calligraphy, came to an abrupt halt. Mom was consumed with guilt over this. A sudden thought struck me. Good riddance. I hated those exhausting classes anyway. The cakes, salmon, foie gras, and Australian lobsters we used to enjoy freely now made Mom balk at their price tags alone. Whenever there's something delicious, Mom always saves the first bite for me. "Mom, my teacher says eating rich food all the time isn't healthy. We should have more vegetables for a balanced diet." Mom knew I was just saying that to comfort her. She held me tight and sobbed uncontrollably. Overnight, I went from being a princess on a pedestal to a matchstick girl in the slums, but I never once resented Mother for it. As long as I'm with Mom, even the hardest days taste sweet. Later when I fell ill, running a high fever with pneumonia, Mom rushed me to the hospital immediately, yet couldn't afford the treatment. In my feverish haze, I heard Mom pleading with Dad over the phone. Dad responded with condescending mockery. "What happened? You promised you could take good care of Juno." but she's hospitalized in less than 6 months. Mom choked up looking at my fever-flushed face. Please, Roy, she's your own flesh and blood. Just 5,000. After I pay the hospital bill, I'll never ask you for another penny. 5,000 bucks. Not even enough for suing his handbag. Couldn't even cover a luxury grooming session for her cat, yet Dad wouldn't spare a penny. Eventually, Mom had no choice but to take out an online loan. She was very happy. I recovered. But Mom became even more exhausted. She started working 2 jobs, waiting tables by day and delivering takeout at night. She never came home until late at night. Mom would tiptoe around, careful not to wake me, yet I'd always startle awake the moment she arrived. Once, Mom thought I was sound asleep, holding me and rocking back and forth, murmuring to herself, "Juno, was it wrong for Mom to want you? Truth is, I really wanted to tell Mom, choosing to stay with her. I don't regret it one bit." Suingha had been married for less than half a year. She gave birth to a son named Alec. That day, the father was overjoyed, dancing around the hospital room. Our family line is secured at last. Back when Mom and Dad were still in love, Dad used to say he adored daughters most. A daughter's so considerate, a father's little angel, unlike boys who just know how to push my buttons. To reward Suingha for continuing the family line, overjoyed, Dad immediately bought Suingha a beachfront villa. Suingha seized the moment to suggest sending me away. After all, Alec isn't her real brother. Who's to say she wouldn't harm my son? Father frowned. She's just a child. How could that be possible? Besides, she's still my biological daughter. Imagine how bad it would sound if word got out about kicking her out. Seeing her father's refusal, Suingha immediately threw a tantrum, threatening to jump off the building with the child. My father coaxed her with endless terms of endearment, calling her sweetheart and darling. In the end, though reluctant, my father gave in. On the day he sent me away, he couldn't bring himself to meet my eyes. "Your brother is too spoiled, crying and fussing all day long. Dad's worried it might affect your studies, so we'll rent you a place outside and hire a nanny to take good care of you. How does that sound?" I knew my opinion didn't matter, so I just nodded and agreed. Dad didn't expect me to be so composed, agreeing without hesitation. With a hint of reluctance, he slipped a card into my hand. "There's 500,000 in there. Buy whatever you want." I beamed sweetly. "Thanks, Dad." As we got into the car, Dad waved at me. Uncle Wade, the driver, seemed quite indignant on my behalf. Mr. Roy is being utterly unfair. After all, you're his daughter too. How could he just cast you out like this?" I lowered my eyes, didn't say a word. In this world, a stepmother inevitably brings a stepfather. I learned that lesson in my past life, so it won't hurt me anymore. All I ever wanted was to grow up peacefully in this home. Nothing else mattered to me. After moving out, Father never showed up again, for whenever I texted my dad, he'd always promised to visit me on weekends, but then he started complaining I texted him too often. "Stop messaging me so much. If Andingha sees this, she'll get upset." I wisely never sent it again. Sometimes I just stare blankly at our family of 3 photo. On my 5th birthday, my parents took me to Shanghai Disneyland. That remains the happiest day in my memory. Dad took me on a roller coaster ride. Our whole family enjoyed the water rafting, and he even brought me to explore Treasure Cove in the Pirates of the Caribbean themed area. As night fell and the fireworks show was about to begin, Dad lifted me high up in the air. I perched comfortably on his broad shoulders. The brilliant fireworks bursting across the sky forever captured our family of 3's radiant smiles in this photograph. Tears kept streaming down, but soon, I shook off these sorrowful thoughts. Don't dwell on the past. My mom once told me, "Juno, never give up on your dreams or your career. Education may not be the only path in life, but it gives you more choices." Right, in my past life, study, after my parents' divorce, my grades gradually slipped from the top of the class to the bottom. These days, I'm burning the candle at both ends. Every day I memorize English vocabulary and Chinese texts, grabbing every spare moment to read. If I don't understand something at first glance, I'll read it again. Hard work compensates for shortcomings. Besides, I was never stupid to begin with. Soon enough, my grades improved by leaps and bounds. I became the top student in my class. Eventually, I even ranked first in the entire grade. The teacher's call came through to Dad's phone. When Dad heard I ranked first in the final exams, he was so thrilled that he actually brought me home for the first time ever. "The New Year's coming. I'm taking you home to celebrate." Looking at Dad's outstretched hand, after a moment's hesitation, I took her hand anyway. But the moment Suingha saw me walk in, her frown never left her face. She even started arguing with my father right in front of me. "Didn't I tell you not to bring outsiders into our home?" Not giving Dad an ounce of face, Dad spoke cautiously. "After all, Juno is my daughter too. I just want to bring her home for New Year's dinner, then send her back right after." Suingha sneered. "Oh sure, she's your daughter. Does that mean Alec isn't your son? I'm your wife now. Must you keep bringing your ex-wife's daughter home to spite me?" If you don't want this marriage anymore, let's just get divorced. Alec, just over a year old, could barely string words together, yet he already saw me as the enemy. Like an angry little lion, he charged at me and crashed into my legs. Bad man, go away, don't hurt my mommy. With that, he collapsed to the ground, wailing at the top of his lungs. He even hurled a glass at me. It shattered on impact, and flying shards cut my calf. Blood instantly gushed from the wound. Heartbroken to the verge of tears, Dad rushed over and gathered Alec into his arms, soothing him. Then, he shot me a look of disgust. Get the hell out of my sight, he roared. My heart clenched. Deep down, I'd always known Dad favored Alec more, though he'd at least maintained a veneer of kindness toward me. I'm still lying to myself, though Father never showed me much love, but there was some affection. No. Even that last glimmer of hope has faded. I turned and walked out. But I was too young to hail a cab. Besides, it was New Year's Eve. The streets were completely deserted. I gazed at the warm yellow and bright white lights glowing from every household, brimming with hope and happiness. But not a single lamp belongs to me now. Hugging my shoulders, I sat by the door waiting for him. I lost track of how long I waited, until my body nearly froze stiff in the bitter winter wind. The door swung open. Why are you still here? I just got Alec. Calm down. If he sees you, he'll start crying again. Her voice dripped with impatience. My body wouldn't stop trembling, my teeth chattering from the cold. I've got nowhere to go. Those words froze Dad in his tracks. He glanced at the deserted streets, realizing the driver had long gone home for the new year. His gaze finally settled on my injured calf. He spoke with a hint of apology in his voice. Juno, I'm helpless here. You see, every time you come over, Aunt Sue starts arguments with me and your little brother. He's still so young. How could I possibly choose you over my own son? I stared steadily into my father's eyes, whispering, but Dad, I'm your daughter too. I'm only 8 years old. Dad avoided eye contact. His tone grew impatient. All right, I never said you're not my daughter. It's just, there's no other way. Let me take you home. The whole way, I watched the scenery flash by outside the window. My mind was filled with nothing but Mom's face. I wonder, has Mom finally found the life she wanted? Is she doing all right? She must be living happily without this deadweight like me. Will we ever meet again? In her past life, Mom collapsed while delivering takeout. When the hospital called my elementary school teacher, I was still in class. The teacher's face showed distress. They took me to the hospital. I clutched my sleeves tightly the whole way. The teacher hesitated to speak. In the end, nothing was said. When I arrived at the hospital and saw my mother, her face was covered with a white cloth. The doctor was explaining to us, heatstroke, it's too late. Certain words registered in my ears, yet I couldn't comprehend. Mom kissed me goodbye with a smile this morning. How can she be lying there so still now? Finally, the teacher patted my head and said regretfully, Juno, your mother has passed away. I stood there stubbornly, refusing to let them take Mom away. You're lying. My mom can't be dead. I shook Mom's body desperately. Mom, wake up. Please don't sleep anymore. I was wrong. I'll quit school, I'll eat less, just please don't ignore me. Mom, I'll beg Dad for money so you won't have to work so hard. Mom, no matter what I said, Mom just lay there pale and motionless. It was like she'd never speak to me again. As I kept talking, all the aunts and uncles present began to cry. The teacher choked up, crouched down, and hugged me. Juno, don't do this. Your mother is exhausted. Let her rest. Yeah. Mom's worn out from dragging deadweight like me around. Getting only 4 or 5 hours of sleep at most each day, running around every day just to make ends meet. Even when she's exhausted and giving it her all, she still feels guilty toward me. Mom said she was an orphan who endured hardships as a child. With financial aid, she got into college and studied relentlessly to change her fate. But after meeting Dad, she gave up her dreams for love. Her face always clouds with sorrow when she speaks of these things, yet she insists, I have no regrets. Because being with your father gave me you, Juno. Your mother is truly happy, but I'm the one who regrets. Had I not chosen Mom back then, perhaps she would have lived a happier life, at least, still alive. Slowly, ever so slowly, I released my tight grip on Mother's hand. Now Mother can finally get some proper rest. I won't disturb her anymore. I'll be good. I watched helplessly as Mom was pushed into the furnace before my eyes, consumed by the raging flames. My heart was wrenched with agony at that moment. Darkness kept washing over my vision. 5. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't choose Mom this time. Heaven have mercy. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my parents divorced, but Mom seemed to have been reborn too. She left me. I just feel relieved. Mom, live for yourself in this lifetime. The 4th year without Mother, on my 10th birthday, Dad voluntarily brought me back home. I stood at the doorstep, hesitating for a long time without entering. Seeing me frozen in place, Dad asked curiously, why aren't you coming in, Juno? I looked inside the door. Aunt Sue and little brother. He let out a hollow laugh. Come in, we're family now. Though Aunt Sue had some reservations about you before, I've talked to her. She's ready to treat you as her own daughter. I didn't believe a word father said. Fine, I don't want to go against his wishes either. The moment I stepped inside, Suingha stood by the dining table laden with delicacies, smiling as she beckoned me over. Juno, I never imagined you'd grow up to be such a fine young woman. You've become even more beautiful. The tone carried a fawning flattery. I've barely returned home since she had the child. After years apart, these feelings are only natural. Seeing I wouldn't respond, she gave an awkward chuckle. She made me sit down and kept piling food into my bowl. Eat up now. This is your home. I've already discussed with your father you'll be starting middle school soon and should attend a better institution. It's all his fault for being too busy with work to notice your academic transition. Honestly, he never pays attention to these things unless I remind him, yet ironically. She was the one who threw tantrums to stop Dad from sending me to that elite private school. She insisted I only attend the most ordinary public elementary school. I finished my meal in silence. Suingha kept shooting meaningful glances at Dad, clearly holding back words, but Dad hesitated for a long time without speaking. That night when I tried to leave, Dad insisted I stay. But my old room had long since become my younger brother's bedroom. I had to settle for the guest room temporarily. Before turning in, I asked Dad, do you remember what day it is today? He paused to think, what's so special about today? It's just Saturday. Oh no, I forgot to take Auntie Sue's dodo for grooming today. She's going to be mad at me again. All right, time to get some rest. I closed the door with a self-deprecating chuckle. Of course Dad would forget my birthday. In his heart, I rank lower than suing his pet cat. The next day, Dad brought over my belongings from the rental apartment. From now on, the four of us will live together as a family. I remained silent, neither refusing nor agreeing. In the following days, both Dad and Suing had treated me exceptionally well, suspiciously well. Until that day, I overheard Dad arguing with Suingha in the bedroom. How much longer are we going to pamper this little princess? When exactly are you going to tell her about the bone marrow donation? Dad let out a heavy sigh. Just a few more days. After all, Juno is my daughter too. She's still so young. How could I possibly ask her to donate bone marrow to Alec? Suingha sneered. Oh, she's your daughter, so you coddle her like some precious treasure. What about Alec? Isn't he your son too? A marrow donation won't kill her, but our boy will die without this surgery. Are you really going to stand by and watch your own flesh and blood die? The sound of shattering objects echoed from the bedroom. I stood frozen in place. So that's why Dad's been so nice to me lately. He wants me to donate bone marrow to my brother. I thought I was done grieving over Dad, but now this pain in my chest just won't go away. How I wish I could scream at him. I'm your daughter too. Tears streamed down silently. The door suddenly swung open. Dad's face froze in awkwardness when he saw my tear-streaked face. He let out a sigh. Since you've already heard, I'll take you to the hospital tomorrow. I stared at him, still clinging to hope. I asked, Dad, I'm only 10. Are you really going to sacrifice my health for my brother? He avoided my gaze and waved his hand impatiently. What about me? Should I just stand by and watch Alec die? He's your brother too. You should save him. I took a deep breath. 6. Dad, all your kindness these days. It was for my brother, wasn't it? Silence confirmed it. My heart turned to stone. I won't donate. I turned to leave. But Suingha's iron grip clamped down on my wrist. Her eyes burned with venom as she spat. You'll donate whether you like it or not. After all these years of putting food in your mouth and clothes on your back, and you deny us your marrow, you ungrateful wretch. I looked to my father for help, but he remained silent on the sidelines. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't break free. In the end, I sank my teeth hard into her arm. She yelped in pain, letting go as she cursed and lashed out at me. A brutal beating. Father just stood by watching coldly, completely indifferent. In the end, battered and bruised, I was locked in the basement by Suingha, dark, damp, reeking of mildew. I could even hear the squeaks of rats scurrying about. In my past life, the tiny rented room Mom and I shared was also infested with rats. But back then, with Mom by my side, I feared nothing. No, I'm terrified. How I wish Mom would appear and take me away. But she's probably forgotten all about me by now. I hugged myself, trying to console myself. It's okay, as long as Mom's doing well. I don't mind putting up with some hardship. Fine, I'll donate the bone marrow. Once I come of age, I'm leaving this house for good. Then I'll go abroad to find my mother. I've been carefully saving every penny of the pocket money Dad occasionally gave me over the years. Now I have enough to go find Mom. This thought fills me with courage from head to toe. Not a trace of fear remains. Humming the lullaby Mom used to sing me to sleep, fighting off hunger as I slowly drifted into dreams. At the crack of dawn the next day, Suingha and Dad took me to the hospital. First, we underwent compatibility testing. A week later, the results showed we were a perfect match. Dad was overjoyed. He immediately took me to the hospital to schedule the surgery. After seeing my physical condition, the doctors refused to perform the surgery for us. She's too thin and young to donate bone marrow. Suingha threw an immediate tantrum in the hospital upon hearing this. Are you trying to kill him? My son is sick and needs this bone marrow transplant to survive, yet you're refusing to operate. What kind of monsters are you? Listen carefully. If anything happens to my boy, I'll make you pay for this. The doctor sighed but maintained patience. Normally donors must be over 18, but we could make an exception. The problem is her weight. She's only 25 to 30 kilograms now, already underweight for her age. She'd need to reach at least 50 kilograms before donation. Why not help her gain weight first, then proceed when she meets the requirement? No, we can't wait another minute. Donating bone marrow won't kill you anyway. Just operate on my son now. I don't care about the consequences, Suingha snarled at the doctor with a twisted expression. The doctor looked deeply troubled. His gaze shifted toward my father, wanted to seek his advice. Finally, Dad lowered his head and said, "Let's do as my wife suggests." The doctor looked at me helplessly again. "Sweetheart, are you really willing to donate bone marrow to your little brother?" I saw the pity in everyone's eyes around me. A bitter thought crossed my mind. I didn't want to, but what could I do? My father is my legal guardian. Once he gives consent, I have no power to object. I took a deep breath, whispering my reply, "I do." The door suddenly burst open. A familiar yet booming voice exploded in my ears. "I refuse." I whipped my head around. The face I'd been dreaming of day and night. Mom's back. Dad saw her too. He froze in shock. I was stunned too. I can't believe Mom is really back. I stared at her hungrily, terrified this might just be a dream. She wore a camel-colored wool coat over a beige knit top, her jet-black hair cascading like liquid silk. With porcelain skin so delicate it seemed translucent, she radiated timeless elegance and effortless grace. Is this really the same mother from my past life? That exhausted, sallow-faced woman worn down by malnutrition, Iris. Dad stood frozen, utterly stunned by Mom's breathtaking beauty. He had to double-check several times. Mom stepped forward with icy composure. She slapped Dad hard across the face. Then she shielded me behind her. "Roy, I entrusted our daughter to your care, but how have you treated her, kicking her out to live alone, even during holidays? That was bad enough, but now you'd make a child her age donate marrow for your son. I'm telling you, no way." Dad was stunned by the blow and only now regained his composure. Facing Mom's accusatory questions, he lowered his head in embarrassment. Suingha pointed at Mom's face. "You are the one who gave up custody of your daughter for 5 million. Now she's our child. And we'll do as we please. As for the bone marrow donation, she will donate to my son, period." Mom sneered. "Yes, I did grant Roy custody before, but things have changed now. I'll see you for abusing Juno, and I will reclaim custody of my daughter." With that, no matter how Suingha raged and screamed, Mom took my hand and walked us out of the room. Even after stepping outside, I still felt like I was living in a dream. I walked over to a quiet corner. Mom let go of my hand. My heart skipped a beat. Tiptoeing forward, I gently tugged at Mom's finger. "Mom, please don't be mad at me. It's okay if you don't want me, but could you tell me where you live? I just want to see you." I quickly added, "Just occasionally. If you don't want to see me, even a distant glimpse would be enough." But Mother still ignored me, still had her back turned to me. My heart sank little by little. I gradually loosened my grip on Mom's hand, but in an instant, she pulled me into her embrace. 7. Mom was trembling. She held me tightly in her arms, tears soaked through my shoulder. "Juno, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I had no choice but to leave you behind back then. All these years abroad, I've worked tirelessly, studying, earning money, just so I could come back sooner to take you away from your father. I never once thought of abandoning you. I'm so sorry. You must blame me. You must hate me. It's all my fault for making you suffer all these years." After crying for what felt like forever, Mom finally let go of me. I reached up to wipe the tears from the corners of Mom's eyes. "Mom, I never blamed you, not even once. These years haven't been hard at all, really. It's just that I've missed you so much." Mom took me for a forensic injury examination, immediately filed a lawsuit against Dad. That day, Mom took me to her place. "This is your bedroom." I stared at the room before me. My eyes welled up with tears again. My favorite Nick the Fox plush sat on the bed, the room still decorated in my beloved green hue. Mom's special nightlight for bedtime stories glowed by the bedside, while her hand-carved wooden pig figurine watched over my desk. I threw myself into Mother's embrace. This very embrace was what I'd lost in my past life. I thought Mom had abandoned me in this life. Never expected she'd come back to me. Mom cradled me, patting my back to lull me to sleep, but I was wide awake, chattering excitedly about everything that had happened in her absence, even though Dad hasn't been kind to me, but I couldn't care less. For the past 4 years, I've been studying relentlessly, devouring thousands of books and retelling their stories to Mom with perfect clarity. "Mom, did you know I've consistently ranked first in my grade?" I said proudly. Mom's face lit up with a smile as she kissed my forehead. "Juno, Mom knows." I felt somewhat disappointed. I was actually planning to surprise her. Mom continued, the truth is, I came to every single parent-teacher meeting of yours. I just never went inside. I'd watch you from afar. I was afraid if I saw you, I wouldn't be able to leave again. But I had nothing, no means to fight your father for custody, no way to provide you a good life. Can you ever forgive me? So you came back on Dad's wedding day too, didn't you? Mom nodded sheepishly. Back then, Mom had just been abroad for a month away from you. I missed you so much I could barely sleep, so I secretly bought a ticket to come see you, never expected to walk in on your father's wedding, so every time I saw a figure that looked like Mom, it wasn't my imagination after all, it was all real. I held Mom tight in my arms. All those days I missed Mom, she was missing me just the same. Mom also shared stories about her study abroad experience. Back then, I couldn't bring myself to tell you the truth, afraid I wouldn't persevere. Afraid I'd disappoint you, so I pretended to abandon you, transferring custody to your father. Then I went abroad with my university mentor's son, your Uncle Lincoln. When I first arrived, I missed you terribly every day. The language barrier was overwhelming, and I'd fallen years behind in my field. You can't imagine how often I nearly gave up, but thinking of you always renewed my fighting spirit. That night, Mom and I talked until we were completely exhausted. Yet neither of us wanted to sleep. Mom, will I still see you tomorrow? Is this just a dream? Silly Juno, Mommy will never leave you again. Time to sleep now. When I opened my eyes again, the space beside me was empty. Overwhelming panic consumed me. I screamed Mom. In panic, my mother rushed into the room from cooking in the living room. Seeing the anxious look on her face, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, it wasn't just a dream. Before the court session began, Dad tried reaching out to Mom several times, but she kept refusing to see him. In the end, Dad came to me. Your father can transfer custody to your mother, but only if you agree to donate bone marrow to your little brother. Otherwise, I'll hire the best lawyers and take this to court. I turned and repeated Father's words to Mother. Mother was absolutely furious, immediately called my dad. Roy, you bastard, listen up, hire any lawyer you want. I'm taking this to court. Don't even think about getting my daughter's bone marrow donation. She'll never donate, not in this lifetime. After Mom hung up the phone, look at me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have raised my voice like that in front of you, let alone badmouth your father to your face. It's okay. And I actually think Mom was right. Anyway, I don't want this father anymore. After saying that, we exchanged knowing smiles. True to form, Dad contacted a law firm and secured the best local attorney, 8, a highly reputable lawyer specializing in civil marriage cases, particularly child custody disputes. Dad put up $1 million. He invited the other party to meet him, but when he arrived, only Mom showed up. He frowned at Mom. Are you following me? Let me tell you something. I'm about to meet with a top-notch lawyer, and soon you'll be begging me on your knees. Mother gave a cold smile, produced her attorney license. Is that so, Mr. Roy? The person you're looking for? It's not me, is it? Dad's eyes widened in shock. You, how could it be you? Mom said sarcastically. What else did you think I went abroad for? I majored in law. My advisor was going to recommend me for the overseas study program, but I stayed in this country, for you. I came here just to tell you. This lawsuit is mine to win. With that, Mom left with her head held high, undeterred. Dad sought out another lawyer. Upon reviewing the case details and realizing my mother was the plaintiff, they all claimed they couldn't help. In the end, Mom not only successfully won custody of me in court, she also secured a substantial compensation payment. And of course, future child support payments won't be a penny short. Later, Alex's condition took a sharp turn for the worse, and there was still no matching bone marrow available. Dad came with money in hand, begging Mom to save their son. But Mom just threw the cash in his face and told him to get lost. In the end, my father had no choice but to undergo matching tests with his son, but the results came back incompatible. Eventually, he succumbed to his illness. Suingha went mad with grief, convinced that my father and I were responsible for her son's death. She forced my father to kill me. Of course, my father refused. This sent her into a rage. She started smashing things around the house every day. At first, Dad would try to calm her down by buying her gifts. It went on for so long that Suingha even started kicking and hitting her father. Her father grew weary of it too. He began regretting divorcing my mother all those years ago. He kept calling my mother constantly. Of course, Mom completely ignored him, eventually blocked all his contact information. Later, after Suingha slashed Dad's arm with a knife, he finally reached his limit and filed for divorce. Naturally, Suingha refused to agree. She believed I was the monster who killed her son and ruined her life, so she ambushed me on my way to school, determined to kill me as revenge for her son. But Mom had already taken precautions. I hired bodyguards to protect me around the clock. When Suing had charged at me with a knife, the bodyguard sent her flying with a brutal kick. In the end, my mother pressed charges against Suingha for intentional assault. During the court hearing, She hurled obscenities and vicious insults at me and my mother. She even threatened to kill me someday to avenge her son. The judge himself grew weary of her outbursts. Ultimately, she received a 3-year prison sentence for attempted intentional injury. We stepped out of the courthouse. Dad stood before Mom and me, his face etched with exhaustion. He stammered out an apology. "I'm sorry," Mom responded with a cold sneer, refusing to even glance his way. "Roy, the moment you refused to pay even $5,000 for our daughter's illness, I stopped seeing you as Juno's father." Dad was stunned. I didn't. In this lifetime, he truly hadn't. At this very moment, I truly believed Mom had been reborn. Dad turned to me with pleading eyes. I held Mom's hand firmly. "I only have a mother, not a father. Starting today, my name is Solace." Later, we heard Suingho went mad in prison. "She searches for her son every single day." When Mother heard, she just said, "Serves her right." I once asked Mom if there was someone special in her life. I wouldn't mind if she found someone new, because I don't want Mom to be all alone. But Mom just said, "With you here, I'm never lonely." Besides, Mom's completely absorbed in her work these days. Every day feels fulfilling. Hearing Mom say that, I was genuinely happy, because I didn't want anyone else sharing Mom's love either. Not even the slightest bit is allowed. After that, Mom moved us to a new place. I never saw Dad again. Maybe he just stopped looking for me. It was Mom who kept him from seeing me. Many years later, I found the one. On the wedding day, a hunched old man lingered outside my wedding venue for a long while. Our eyes met briefly across the distance. His clouded gaze locked onto me with unsettling intensity. His lips parted in a voiceless whisper. "My sweet girl, it reminds me of my childhood, when a man once lifted me high above his head," a memory etched deep in my heart. In just a fleeting moment, I averted my gaze. My mother in the audience watched me with tears of joy and pride streaming down her face. I smiled back, utterly content. I think, having the person I care about most by my side, that's all I need. Everyone else doesn't matter.